catch me howling at the moon. Tryna catch me howling at the moon. Tryna catch me howling at the moon.
Hi there guys, welcome to episode
5
of the Drug Squad podcast, a podcast where we talk all things addiction. As always, I'm Kieran, joined by Pete and Sam. At the university the other day, I got that the wrong way around. Which,
No, I broke the ice, didn't I? Did break the ice.
Which is it's an easy mistake to make between you two, isn't it?
Yeah.
You're about the same height.
It's the only thing. It's that same height and don't go gym.
Yeah. So yeah, how's life been?
I thought you'd never ask. Just spoke about this a minute ago. You really want to know? I
Yes.
really broke my back in the gym.
Yeah.
So I was out of action for a bit, still working. Left my job. It was poisoning me mentally.
Yeah.
Got another job. Loving it. Sun's out. That's it really. Life's good. But hurting my back, that weren't good.
Yeah. What's that tired? Not to go to the gym, I don't think.
I still went, didn't I? I spoke to
Lifting
you.
too heavy weight, I think.
I nearly broke my back and I went to the gym. My head said deadlift. But
Just do it again.
Yeah, things are good.
Yeah.
So we've had a real positive week, haven't we, this week?
Yeah.
Particularly with our talk at the university. Like my dad just told us before, I did get my first high from
Natural high.
yeah, is it called a natural high?
Natural high, yeah.
And I had all the same feelings as I did.
That feeling when we walked out knowing that what we'd achieved successfully was amazing, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Do you know,
good.
like
Really good feeling.
the fact that we've done it together, do you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
we've also kind of got clean together, we've kind of made that step together and then kind of
It was really good
helping
feedback
others.
from the students,
Yeah.
I thought.
I thought the students were really good. They were
really-
engaged.
I didn't think it was going to go down as well as it did. I don't know, I think that's just self-doubt, but I didn't think it was going to go down.
I think it was important as well because it wasn't. We're not here to
Yeah.
tell you not
Don't
to
do
do drugs.
Yeah.
Just say no. Talk to Frank. It wasn't like that, was it? We were just raising awareness of what we're trying to
if
do.
if you are struggling or if your friends are struggling, there is other avenues you can take.
Yeah, and I think when you're speaking passionately about something you
Yeah.
believe in, it comes across well anyway. So,
It went really well, I thought.
yeah. So we're back at the university on Friday. So we're hoping that there'll be some sort of ongoing
Yeah.
partnership.
It's
there.
crazy, isn't it? Like we've said it to each other. Like who would have thought that we would have been in the university talking to students about our achievements and then the project? Do you know, like I wouldn't have thought about it a number of years ago. Do you know, and none of us would have.
No, it's happened in quite a short amount of time, so it's all good. So a quick update about the Dynamo Project. So me and my dad met the council there on Thursday. It's quite dilapidated in certain parts of the venue, so they wanted to know what work we are going to do to bring it up to where we need it, and that would determine rates and whatnot. So that was really good. So and we're hoping, and this isn't like a far-fetched, we're hoping to have the keys on the 1st of May.
Yes.
Yeah, that's good.
So I leave work 5 weeks next Friday.
You're excited?
No, I'm not counting down or anything. So I leave work on April 29th. So then I'll be there to oversee the change.
I thought you were leaving the other Wednesday a couple of weeks ago.
Let's not go into that. So that's on the 29th of April I'll be leaving. So that's really good. So I'm looking forward to handing my notice in.
Yes.
So I've got to do that 4 weeks prior. So.
The countdown now, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's the
yeah.
countdown.
So I'll be in there May and June, and then you guys will come over. Well, hopefully in July.
Yeah.
All being well, isn't it? So yeah. So how did you think the last podcast went?
I really enjoyed it. I like Jason.
I like Jason. He was good, weren't he?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not like really close friends with Jason. I've only
No.
heard him share probably twice. When I heard him share a long time ago, I weren't really with it. But the last time I heard him share, I really enjoyed it, man. He was
Yeah.
real powerful, so it was nice.
It depends what side you sit on, Jason, because he's hard of hearing on one side. I think I was sat on that side because when I was trying to speak to him, he didn't seem to acknowledge it.
No, well,
or he was just ignoring
He's
me.
playing like he's doing it to me, and I'm sitting this side. He's powerful, man. Very powerful.
Yeah. I'll tell you what I liked. You know when we put that image on social media of him in the bed and him
Yeah.
getting his OBE from Prince Charles, I just thought that was a caption that didn't need any words.
Yeah.
So that's quite a powerful thing.
When
So
he
that's-
showed us the video, it was.
The thing is, we
Shocking.
see stuff like that every day. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
From meetings and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, we see them.
we don't see Prince
achievements.
Charles every day.
No, but we see them achievements, don't we? Do you know, like people have come from nothing and then gone to be therapists and this and that and have these massive careers, and then people from the outside world don't see that what we see. Do you know? They just think
They see the odd celebrities.
they see them
Yeah.
people who are living like that and stay like that. Do you know?
And that's essentially what we're trying to do. We're trying to raise awareness around what potentially addicts can do once they get clean and they recover. You know, it's not like look at us, because we do talk about our failings too.
Yeah.
But we are capable of going on and
many
achieving
failures.
things. Hey?
I've had many.
Oh, I've had many failures, yeah. I'm a very flawed individual, as my recent weeks tell me. Which I'm not going to go into, but
We will.
Very flawed
Not
individual.
today, but we will.
yeah. I talked to my sponsor about it.
Yeah.
I told him, he just went, oh. At least I told him.
Yeah.
People
So-
talk more about addiction and less about recovery. If someone from the who's not, doesn't suffer with anything, addiction or drugs and alcohol misuse or anything, they will say, oh, so and so's got a problem with addiction or addiction problems. There's not really mention about the recovery. People do recover.
Yeah. It's sort of like, to mention your recovery, you have to talk about your addiction to give people that contrast, and people don't like to talk about the
Yeah,
addiction. So if they were just talking about their recovery and they've got a job and whatnot, that's just normal
Yeah, yeah.
stuff. Without that context of addiction,
There's a lot of shame around it and a
Yeah.
bit of embarrassment. I think that's what
Yeah.
we're putting a face to a name, live on air, talking about it. I think it'll promote other people to feel they can talk about it as well.
So today we have Melissa on to join us.
Yes.
Now this will be the first time I've had a guest on that I don't particularly know. Well, I don't know Melissa.
I only met her this morning.
Yeah, that's what I like, because that's what I quite like, because with Jason and Michelle, really good
I met them
friends.
before, yeah.
Yeah, so I sort of knew where the podcast would take us. With Jason, it took us quite far into
Yeah.
which is brilliant. So with Melissa, it'd be quite good for the three of us to.
Yeah.
We'll be getting to know her story at the same time as our listeners,
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
and I think that will be a good
It's
thing.
nice to have male, female guests on,
Yeah, 100%.
as addiction, it affects males and females. As we know, it's not
Yeah.
just a male thing or a boys' club or anything like that. Recovery is male and female.
Yeah.
Both people get,
And I think recovery for addicts is is a lot focused on males. There's a lot of places for males to go to, and that's something as a project we want to look into to try and help females.
Both,
But
yeah.
it's hard with the women, because a lot of them tend to have children. It's not easy to up to down tools and get into an accommodation. So that's something that we're going to look into as a project to try and see if we can help the women. But we can help them at the minute, so it's all good. So, and I'll tell you what I have noticed, I sniff a lot.
What,
I've
still?
I've been watching my podcast back, and I'm forever doing that with my nose. Now I've got a big hole in my nose from out the cocaine that I sniffed. And I'm always very conscious of it, so I'm going to really try this podcast not to sniff. I just did it again, I can't help it. So, without further ado, we'll get Melissa on and see how we get on. Melissa, how are we? Get a quick drink.
Yeah, quick drink.
It's not vodka, that, is it?
Damn it. I'm very well, thank you. I'm really good. Yeah, I'm really good.
So,
Thank you for having me.
Oh, no problem. So we know you travelled quite a distance this morning to join
I
us.
did, yeah, from the sunny realms of the Black Country.
So that was I really appreciate you coming on. So, like we said it before, I don't know you. People don't know you, and some don't know you.
I've met Melissa a few times.
Yeah. But in terms of, I guess, with Michelle and Jason, we knew a lot better. So we don't really know much about you and whatnot. So I think it would be good as a team to hear more about yourself. So what we want to talk about on this podcast is obviously a bit about yourself, your story, what you do now to keep yourself from going back to your old ways, and what's important to you. And we'll also touch upon the stigma. And I think it'd be good to get your opinion on the stigma around addiction, because you've got a lot more experience within the addiction world than us three.
Yeah.
So it'd be good to get your take on things. So I think we'll just keep it simple and start with a little bit about about who you are, what your upbringing, where you're from, why do you think you got into drugs, what drugs there were, and where your life was with drugs, and then we'll go into your recent times.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so I'm born and bred in Birmingham. Don't hold that against me.
We've had two Birmingham people in a row now.
Yeah,
One more will keep the match forward.
Yeah, that's it, remedy that. My family, my family upbringing is good, solid. They instilled in me morals and moral fibre and principles. My family love me, but there is just something in me that couldn't receive that love. And like you guys will relate, feel different, don't fit in.
Did you ever feel like you wanted to have somebody, other parents?
Yeah, my sister's 10 years older than me, and I thought growing up that they were going to do this big reveal at some point that she was really my mum. Even though she's only 10 years older than me, there was no signs there to say like, she's going to love that. But I tell you that because that kind of emphasises how different I felt, and that I just that not fitting in, not feeling sort of included. And that wasn't the fault of my family. That's just what happens in my brain. I think I also have a brother who's 12 years older than me. And I think my parents probably needed to parent me differently.
Because of the age gap.
Not the age gap, because I'm different.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I'm different. I'm like this, that super sensitivity.
Yeah. And
I think there was some of those cues that they missed, but they weren't educated to look for them. So, I don't put any blame in my parents. They didn't do anything wrong. I think I'm now, as a parent, I'm more educated maybe to look out for, for signs with my children, especially because of my past as well.
I think that as well. My daughter, I think if I ever saw the signs of the old me, I would know what to look for. I think it's a bit of a privilege to have that, I think.
Absolutely, and we live this life of self-reflection. We constantly inventory ourselves and our thoughts and our behaviour. And a big part of that for me, being a parent, is to constantly review what didn't work for me as a child growing up and correct that with my children.
It is a privilege, that is. I also sometimes think it can be detrimental, because sometimes I look at my daughter Freya and I try and find things that are similar to me, like that aren't there, and then my head will tell me. Sometimes I can overthink
Overanalyse it,
but we can also see the signs, can't we?
Yeah.
I'd be glad if they weren't there in my daughter.
Yeah.
It worries me that.
Yeah. I don't look for signs of addiction. I look for signs of where they need help with their esteem.
Being oversensitive. I can see in my daughter sometimes. I can see she's going to be a little bit timid around. Her cousins are really loud, and I can see it already. She's only 8 months, but I can see a little timid side there. This might be a bit of an overthinker. That's me overthinking about her.
Yeah, there you go.
That's just an overthinking household.
They don't talk. They're all just sat there in thought.
So your upbringing then was, because mine and your upbringing was really, really good. We had everything.
I really identified with the not feeling loved and wanting to be in someone else's family. Do you know what I mean? I always wanted to be around friends' houses and thinking, it's better here. Do you know what I mean? But back at home, I had such a loving family, and like they both worked, and it was so normal. But everywhere else was so chaos, and I wanted to be there all the time.
I had everything, but wanted more.
I like the way that you said it. That you didn't have a way of receiving that love. It was there, but you struggled to receive it.
Yeah.
It wasn't getting in.
Yeah,
and I understand what that means.
Yeah. As I got older, especially when I got into recovery, my family, and this was not like early recovery, this is years into recovery, my family would still say to me, like, we love you, but you don't see that. Yeah. And of course, I was going, of course they see that. But now that I can receive their love, I go, I didn't see it. And do you know when it changed? When I had my children.
Yeah.
When I had my children, I saw how they loved my children. Then the penny dropped of, oh God, because they're an extension of me, and that's how they loved me. And it took a long time for that to change.
So looking back now, do you see that you had many probably added traits growing up as a child before you even used the substance?
Absolutely. Food be the first one.
Yeah.
Yeah. From I have an eating disorder as well as a drug addiction, and this takes hindsight, doesn't it, and reflection. That there was an issue with my food from really kind of going on to solids. It was right there, early years. From
was that weight? Was that because you worried about putting on weight? Is that or was
I don't think that was cognitive when I was small. It wasn't like a weight thing. It was more of a control thing.
Oh,
I
okay.
won't eat that, and I won't eat that, or I'll only eat those two things together. And then as I got older into my teenage years, in puberty, where I'm more aware of how I look, then it became a weight thing, and then food became a form of self-soothing. So there was a lot of unwanted eating, and then I had and drugs work brilliantly for this for a time, is anorexia and restricting. So, and it wasn't until I got clean that's when my eating disorder just exploded.
we do hear a lot of people struggle with food, don't we?
Yeah.
Because it's
Yeah.
probably like they call it like a substitute, isn't it?
Massively so. I had to go back to rehab. I did another primary care treatment for my eating disorder.
I find once one addiction is under control, or I think it's under control, it manifests somewhere else. It seems to sort of try and break out at me in other ways.
Yeah.
Whether it be the gym, with food, with me as well, with spending or buying, or just being obsessed over something I want to buy, not even buying it. Just the obsession over just thinking, I want to get that this year. And when it comes to it, I get it. It means for cool. It's just really obsessive thinking over it. And sometimes I can think about it all day and it gets me through the day. And it's can be something really daft like.
Life of an addict's very draining.
It can be draining.
Anything that is going to impact how we feel,
Yeah.
we have to be vigilant about, don't we?
Yeah, you have to be aware,
Yeah.
So, what was Melissa like at school? What was school like for you, like secondary school?
Hell.
I can relate to that. I caused hell at school.
No, I didn't cause hell. I wasn't a naughty child, but I was horrifically bullied. Awfully bullied, really bullied, and that.
Do you know why? Why did you feel that was?
I think there was an incident. There was an incident that happened
Yeah.
when I was 14.
Yeah.
And I haven't spoken. My family don't know about this, so I won't. And they'll watch this podcast, so I won't go into the
No,
details.
you don't need to. Yeah.
But there was an incident that happened when I was 14 that was really, really traumatic, and the way that people responded to me on the back of that incident was not in a kind and loving way, and the bullying really escalated to a whole nother level after that. And that's, you have these milestones in your life and you can say that changed the direction of my life. That was definitely changed the direction of my life.
And I think what sort of time was you at school? What years was this would have been?
Second,
Second, third year into.
So what would that have been? Because back, I suppose, even when I was at school, if you were getting bullied, you didn't say anything.
Yeah.
It's different now. There's a lot more awareness around
absolutely.
bullying. But when I was at school, it was
They didn't know.
say anything.
Then the staff didn't know how to deal with it anyway.
And you obviously you didn't tell your parents what you were going through.
My family knew. I mean, how my school tried to deal with it was to save me from getting beat up after school. They would drive me home every night. That didn't solve anything. I mean, so when they stopped driving me home, they were still the bullies were still there waiting for me, and they absolutely terrorised me. It was an awful time. Yeah, I just didn't want to go to school.
And did you leave school at
I left school at 16.
the earliest opportunity? Had you used any substances at that point?
Yeah, what age did you pick up?
Alcohol. Sorry, I keep slipping off.
Okay.
Alcohol was around 14.
Yeah.
And
was that on your own straight away?
No.
Or was that with?
That was, in the park, social.
Yeah. We've all been there, haven't
We've
we?
all been there. I think that's probably quite common for all of us.
8 Carlins, £5. Now you
Diamond white.
Now you wouldn't get one now.
Diamond white. I mean, they're just, there's certain drinks that you have that you just shudder at.
Ten sovereign. Remember in the black packet?
I have good memories from drinking that.
Yeah.
They were alright.
Kind of call them a sovereign.
Yeah.
No, life don't get
That's
better
the
than that,
height of sophistication when I was a teenager.
Little did I know that was my high point. That was as good as it was going to get.
That's as good as it
Didn't get any better.
It was all downhill from there.
No.
I thought it was at the start or something.
There was one school disco that I drank half a bottle of sherry to, thinking that the school wouldn't notice, and they had to call my dad to come and pick me up. So it was, the alcohol issue was there early. It wasn't that I was drinking really regular, but when I did drink, there was no end to it unless I was unconscious in the middle of the road.
You wanted to get pissed.
Pissed, shit-faced, completely out of my tree. Whereas my friends maybe would have stopped after a couple. I didn't stop until I was just unconscious.
I remember being sick pretty much every time I drank. I'd drink that much. My friend said he's always sick, but I think I'd just drink that much that fast. So I like to just get out of here.
Yeah, out your head.
I create competition in my head that isn't there.
Yeah.
Like I look at my mate and he's drinking, and I think I've got to drink more than him.
Yeah.
He's not even thinking anything.
I do
In my head,
now.
Yeah.
At that age, we never thought like it was just to stop any feelings or anything like that. It was literally like, let's just join in whatever
Join
else.
whatever.
Did alcohol help change it? Did you feel?
Yeah, because I'm massively self-conscious, particularly around the way that I look. I mean, I think that was a big motivator, a big driving thing for me in my teenage years, that I was, I was like the least attractive out of my peer group. And I went to a girls' school, which I don't think helped. And then the group of friends that I would spend time with out of school were the boys as well. And the boys would bully me as well, and a lot of their teasing, I mean, it's not teasing is such a flippant throwaway comment, like it's like bullying and trauma and harassment was around the way that I looked. And when I was pissed, I didn't hear what you were saying, and I didn't really care too much. And the first time that I took a narcotic was an E at 16.
I just love an egg.
I mean,
it's not called ecstasy for no reason.
Exactly. I mean,
that's where you go.
And what was your thought? Because mine, and I bet it's the same. Mine was, this is what I've been looking for.
When I first took one, my ankles got hot. I thought my ankles were on fire, and then that heat just kept going up and up. And
complete happiness. Complete happiness.
Yeah.
I thought, wow, man.
But what I'd like to always tag on to the end of that, for my own benefit, is because my rave days with taking E's, I could sit here and go, no, that was like the height of my use, and I felt loved up, I felt good, I was dancing, I was meeting people. But if I'm really honest, I had some really traumatic, because I would black out all the time, where I ended up one time coming round, and I was in a car with a group of lads that I didn't know from a bar of soap, miles and miles in Telford, and I lived in Birmingham. I mean, that's like, and I didn't know who they were, and I didn't know how I got there. I mean, there was some, and that was, I've got like a whole string of, and as a female, right, that's pretty dangerous.
And did you find yourself in that situation again?
Lots.
Yeah, that's mad, isn't it?
Yeah, lots. That's not fun when things happen to you that you either don't remember or scary you do remember. So I always have to remind myself that it wasn't as good. The drugs felt good, but all of the stuff that came with it was actually really dangerous.
I used to have real bad downers after ecstasy, probably one of the worst actually, when I used to think, I don't really want to be here, because I used to take so many for so long, for so many days. I remember taking them every day for 10 days. Me and my mate had 1,000 each, we were going to take them to a festival. So we sat in the house, and a couple of us coming in and out, but we took pretty much all of them. And after that, I'm so lucky I'm still here, because I didn't want to be here after that. I felt so shit.
Can I just say, in my day, because I'm going to say this for all the people who are in my day, 1E was that good it would last you a week.
These were shit. I'd say 3 at a time.
And do you think like the terminology associated with these like party drugs and the rave scene, I don't think it helps.
No.
I hear it where we go to our meetings that they go, I was on the party drugs. And I always disagree with it because it sort of makes it okay. Partying with it, but
got to be careful not to romanticise it.
yeah.
So using that term recreational drugs, do you know what I mean? What drug is recreational? Do you know what I mean? Where
not for people like us, anyway.
No, exactly. But I really get that. Do you know that the years were the first drug that I took. It was like, you know, like how you said, I'm here. Do you know what I mean? I've got there now. Do you know, like when drinking and taking weed and smoking, do you know, all that. Do you know, when I took an E, it was the first time I was like, this is what I'm here for.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like my life had opened up to something different, and then.
And did you even know that you were looking for something?
No, I just took something and I thought I've arrived now, and this is what I'm supposed to do, and I didn't go a weekend without taking them for such a long time.
Or a week.
Not to mention,
One weekend is 7 days long.
Yeah, I know a couple of people who only took one and they died that night. That does happen. Most people don't take one. I can think of 2 lads off the top of my head now. One of them was at a festival, he took 1 E. One of them took a couple, just overheated, just died.
Nothing scared me about
trying to
taking.
say,
Do you know,
it's
like
a great thing to do.
Yeah. Do you know, like hearing them stories? Like I heard them. I was in Liverpool and I heard there was these E's going around and don't take them, and it didn't scare me from taking them. I just took more. Do you know, it didn't bother me. And I think that was, you know, it's a bit frightening thinking like that. Do you know,
I was always curious if someone said that's not very good. But what would it do to me?
It's like if there was a big red button there, so do not push. We'd fall over it. To try and push it first. All 4 of us would push it. I couldn't not push it. And I think that is a trait in a lot of addicts. Tell me not to do something, I am going to do it.
When I was trying to stop drinking alcohol before, I had a couple of days couldn't eat because alcohol ruined me for a while. And I was in shopping, and I was just in shopping, and my head was all over the shop, the drink aisle, and I was marching up and down this drink aisle. I remember thinking, get out this drink aisle, but it was just so attractive to me, you know, just looking at all those bottles. I don't know why I was in there, you know what I mean? I shouldn't have been in there. It's not like that now.
I think he was aroused.
I'm in the drink aisle, I felt like a naughty kid, like, I know I shouldn't be here, my life is just absolutely messed up. But I had a few little marches up and down.
Most kids were in the dirty mag aisle. You're talking down the hog.
This was when I was 7, anyway.
So about 16, 17, 18 you were called it the rave scene.
The rave scene.
How long did that go on for?
Well, I didn't. My drugs were crack and heroin.
Yeah.
And I took those. That was introduced to those in 1999.
Yeah.
So that was. It was up until that point. So I was in my early 20s.
Yeah.
So I mean,
is that when you first took crack and heroin, 99?
Yeah, in 1999.
Yeah.
So from sort of being 16 to my early 20s, I did a lot of bass, a lot of speed, which killed my appetite as well. So that really helped. Drank a lot, and the so it was my using was focused around going out.
Yeah, working.
Yeah. I had a managerial post. I bought a house. I had a good salary, a career. I owned my own property.
And this was before you picked up crack?
This was before I picked up crack.
Okay. And in terms of crack, and what come first? Was it, did you smoke crack first or was it heroin?
Heroin came first.
Okay, and what sort of level? Do you remember why or how that came about?
The relationship that I was in.
Yeah.
Within weeks of being in this relationship, he gave me a spliff.
Yeah.
With smack in it.
Yeah.
And I was.
Pete's head's fallen off though, is it?
I was like, alright.
That's quite common though to start smoking these spliffs.
Yeah, right. I mean, I'd smoke weed, but it doesn't really agree with me. I tend to giggle for 5 minutes and then I'm violently sick. So that was like, all right, well, I'll give it a go.
What was it like when you smoked it? Do you remember that first time you smoked
it? It was horrible. I mean, I don't believe anybody who's had smack for the first time goes like this. You throw up. You have to be dedicated to push through. To push through it.
You have
to keep going.
Work at it.
You do.
While you're being sick, do some more. I don't know why that happened, but that's the same with most people.
Itching, vomiting. It wasn't like taking an E. It wasn't
it was a horrible experience.
Yeah, it was horrible. But that I think shows the sickness that I would push.
So not well, people.
Because not well. Not well. Because even though physically it wasn't great, on an emotional level, on a chattering, it's gone.
Complete numbness.
Yeah.
I've got.
I mean, my using went from that first spliff to fast forward like 6 months, and I'm sat in a room. God, I haven't spoken about this stuff I mean, this is I'm never far away from remembering this stuff. It's just not the shares that I tend to do anymore, you know. So I feel like I'm actually feeling this on an emotional level. Sat in a room with children who should have been at school, but they're users, right? They're drug addicts, and they were better thieves than me, so they've got more money. Sat in a room with a bin liner in the middle of the room, having a hit on the crack pipe, throwing up in the bin liner, and then chasing on the foil on my gear, and then, you know, like with children, like taking it in turns to throw up in a bin liner. That's in no time at all.
Like in a crack den.
That's
I've
very
seen sick, smoking sick. It's usually a sick bowl or bucket or pile on the floor.
I've been to many crack dens, not using, because I used to be a police officer, so I used to raid crack dens. And, I always remember being in there, and this is why I think we need to raise awareness, because I used to look at them people and I didn't feel sympathy or empathy for them.
Absolutely.
I judged them. I think that's why this project will be important, because we need to try and change the way people view things.
We have to see it as an illness.
Yes,
And
100%.
people need compassion and treatment.
Yeah.
We will
Why would you
fail
choose to be
otherwise.
lying on the floor?
Yeah, you know,
Wouldn't you?
my dream as a little girl was to be a princess, an actress, and then join the army. None of those career choices, not sure whether a princess is a career choice, none of those career choices was, I want to end up a crack and heroin addict, you know, stealing chimneys from people's roofs and copper piping and using drugs with school children.
I knew, I would have nicked one. I was talking about this yesterday to someone, about a family member, you know, who's in active addiction, and I was saying, like, when one of us dies, when an addict dies, people in society usually say, well, you know, at least they're not in pain anymore, or, you know, society will be a better place, or I think it's never like what we know happens. You know, like, it's not the choice for, wake up in the morning and think, right, this is what I want to do in my life. I want to be all in a circle, being sick in a bit. Like, no one would make that choice, ever.
No, exactly.
But then people who are non-addicts don't, and they're not meant to understand it. Why would they
I'm glad some
understand
people
it?
don't.
Yeah.
I'm glad some people
I mean,
family don't.
look, we fund a lot of us, not all of us, but a lot of us fund our habit through stealing in benefits, stealing from other people. So we're expecting like the muggles, the non-addicts, to show us compassion and love when they're on the receiving end of our crime, our criminal activities. And so it's a big stretch, it's a big leap, and it's a big ask of what we're asking for. But we need to get more recovering addicts out there, because then we can say, look, I mean, I take myself as an example. I've gone from I'll burgle your house, I'll nick your handbag, to now my focus is about contributing to my community, whether that's within like my fellowship, my family, my street, the country, the world, or whatever, you know. And I bring value now in everything that I do. So it's worth you showing me compassion, because give me a few years and I'll blow your mind with what I can give back, right? But we're not following the journeys to see that.
Yeah.
I think that's really important what we're doing as well, isn't it? Like, we want anyone that we're trying to help, we want to help them get back into society, give back, go back to work, you know, all them sort of things, rather than just get sober, get clean, and that's it. You know, not give back to anything. You know, we're here about.
See, most people in recovery though, as soon as they get a bit of clean time, they want to give back.
Yeah.
They want to be of service.
Yeah.
I mean,
Some of the most
Absolutely.
kindest people I've ever met, addicts.
Rarely do they.
That empathy.
Rarely does an addict get clean and then doesn't want to help someone else get clean. I've noticed that. I probably know of like one or two that's got clean and thought cheers and walked off, but they are very, very rare.
It's weird because
Yeah.
some of the
Yeah.
most selfish people around are also some of the most conscientious people.
That's right.
Like what you said at the start, they're very sensitive. Very,
Yeah,
very
we
sensitive.
are.
Oh, I'm
I
very
can speak for
sensitive.
myself, I am anyway. But I could never let on from my counsellor's day. I've been locked up before, you can never, you know, come out your cell and say, by the way, I'm really sensitive, so
Yeah,
mind
yeah.
what you say around me.
I'm having a bad day, can someone give me a hug?
Yeah, anyone, hug anyone, like,
Yeah.
I think, from what you've told us, Miss, I think you suffer with very bad low self-esteem, and I can relate to that.
Yes, I did, yeah.
And I think, and I know Pete and Sam can relate to
Yeah.
that, so I know their
I
story.
was not now though.
Yeah,
right?
no.
Yeah.
But when I took drugs,
Yeah.
I had esteem,
Yeah.
but it's
yeah.
all an illusion.
It's an all an illusion. It's the armour, isn't it? You know, you put your armour on, and when we get clean with that armour, we need that armour more than ever before because we're exposed to all of our feelings, all of the anxiety, all of the fear, but we just need to find other armour to other tools to learn.
Do you know what I think the
to-
biggest tool is? Acceptance. The sooner you accept the things that you've done, the sooner you can move away, because you can't forgive what you can't forget.
I would say self-compassion is my biggest tool.
Yeah.
like you
Yeah.
you have good self-esteem now.
Yeah.
So I believe, like, when you first get clean, I did some stuff with my sponsor, and we did a bit of writing, and I found out about self-esteem before I come into recovery. I didn't know what the word meant. I'll be honest.
Yes, yeah.
A lot of words I still don't
It's
know.
a
what
whole. It's
mean, right?
another. Like I thought, this is hieroglyphics here because it's the language I don't understand.
So I did this bit of work on it, and it turned out my self-esteem was through the floor.
Yeah.
But you're saying now, like, if you don't want me asking, how many years clean are you now from drugs?
My clean date is 25th of January 2008. So I was 14 years clean. January
Brilliant.
gone.
So we can build our self-esteem without using drugs, naturally,
Yes.
with time,
Yeah.
through work on yourself.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think the fastest route for that is to be in service to other
Yeah.
people. I think
I agree 100%.
anybody who knows me knows that I'm self-assured, I'm capable, you know, I'm quite fearless, I'm courageous, I'm responsible. There are still elements of insecurities around sort of my physical appearance, that's still there, and I'm constantly working on that. All the other stuff I can't go, well, that's done now, you know, it's like I have to maintain it. But last year I finished another year of therapy around my eating disorder because I wasn't in recovery with that anymore after the birth of my second son. And so I'm a really strong advocate for therapy as well. So that's something that needs constant work, but it doesn't feel like work. It feels like my way of life now, and the gifts that I get from that are like, they're rapid, you know, they're like bullets.
Do you feel like Melissa's constantly evolving?
All the time.
You're not stationary,
Oh
it's
my
evolving.
gosh, all the time. Even just from like 6 months ago, all the time. And it's like, it gets better,
That's
get
something
better.
we can do for the project, that constant evolving of
Do
individuals.
you think society today strives for perfection in the way we look?
Like, massively so. And
See,
I
get
think
conscious about.
this is what I'm really starting to understand, is like, it's not just girls that
Oh, no, I can assure you it's
the
not.
It's the guys as well.
It's definitely not. In fact, we just don't speak about it as much.
That's
And
right.
It's probably
Yeah,
more
yeah.
so with boys.
Yeah.
Like, I can put weight on really easy.
Yeah.
I went up to like 17 stone.
Yeah.
And I saw myself on camera, like, you know, when I said I don't like watching myself. Before the
Yeah.
podcast we spoke,
Yeah.
I listened to this podcast on audio. Because some days, I hate what I look like.
Yeah.
But then other days, I think it's fine, you know what I mean? Like, the first podcast we did, like, I had my glasses on, I got shaved, then and my mate said, oh, you've got Paddy from Emmerdale on your podcast. And I laughed, and then I thought, I'm too fat. And then before we come on, I was like, yeah, I've lost nearly 2 stone. I make light of it, but
Yeah.
we do think
No, it's a massive thing, and it's just, I mean, I've gone through periods where I've had to cover like the mirrors up in my home. I like training.
Sam puts more mirrors.
I can tell that. I asked you guys, you know, before we started recording, about you all look like you train, and we were saying about how healthy lifestyles it's part of recovery, right? Isn't it? You know what you eat and sleep and exercise and the images that I fill my head with. You know, I don't look at magazines. I don't watch like women in bikinis on pop videos, right? Because it's just
with these perfect bodies and faces,
I can't. It's just not good for me. You know, it messes with my serenity. So now that my youngest has gone back to nursery, I've got the time, so I've gone back to training, and my plan is to train 4 times a week at the gym, and I've got a trainer, and you know, I have 4 meals a day, 2 snacks, an extra meal if it's a day that I train. You know, I mean, like, I'm really trying to take care of myself. And I went back on the 1st of February, and I trained last week in front of the mirrors in the gym, which like avoid that at the plague. And I couldn't believe how my body is already responding to the exercise, how it's transforming, because I don't look at myself. I look at myself to put my makeup on, but I don't look at myself in the mirror at home. I can see a change because it's too painful. It's still too painful for me to look at myself full length, because I can't. I'm not there at the moment. I have been in the past when I was in recovery with body image issues. I'm not there in the past to look at myself as a whole. I look at the small details and I find fault. So now I'm really focused on what is the purpose that my body's for. It gets me from A to B pretty bloody good, right? I mean, it's I've grown 2 children, and I think that that's amazing. Like, I grew them. My body did that. Like, what a miracle. And I'm trying to just reframe what my body's for, rather than it's meant to be this thing that has no fat and is just like really aesthetically pleasing.
Well, I've come off social media for about a year now. Do you know, it's all to do with looking at how everyone else looks like, looking at what everyone else has got, you know, and I try not to look at that stuff because I'm just happy with what I look like.
I can fall into that trap.
Comparing yourself.
I can see Pete go, oh, Pete's looking big, do you know what I mean? I want it bigger, do you know, and then do you know, it's all down to that.
In my using, when I had a really bad crack addiction, and I used to take a lot of steroids, and I know now that I had some kind of body dysmorphia going on. So I would be obsessed with that I was ill. I had some blood-borne virus, so I'd be in a crack den, I'd be smoking, using, but I'd also be injecting steroids. So the pinners would be, you know, if they were in the room, they'd be injecting gear, but I'd be injecting steroids, right? So I'd get, but I would look in mirrors wherever I was, and I would see this. I don't know if it was mentally, I'd see this really thin, weak man, because I knew I was real bad into the crack. So I was...
I'm at 35 years of that.
So I would get it in my head that I had, you know, I was ill and I was dying, and I've got a great doctor. I don't really have to see him anymore, you know what I mean? But he just so happened to work with addiction and stuff. But I would go in there and I would demand these blood tests all the time. He'd be like, I'm not testing you anymore, Pete. I am not. There are always nothing wrong with you. But I had it in my head that, I mean, it was all linked to losing weight because I was on drugs, but then I'd take so much steroids and I'd end up losing it and I'd end up in prison. Yeah. It would be just this cycle. It was just crazy. You know what I mean? But I'm sure I had some kind of body dysmorphia because I was looking at, it weren't true. Yeah. Now I can see it now, I can remember it. Yeah. None of it was true. I was so obsessed with. One guy said something to me before, I was in the street and someone said to me, "You're not training anymore," and I knew what he meant. I was fucked. You know what I mean? I'd gone to the shop to get some fags, whatever, and I never forgot it. You know, words can be so powerful, can't they? To a sensitive soul who's on drugs, who's already down on his luck. And I knew what he meant. He didn't really like me. You know what I mean? But that's what he meant. Like, you're not training anymore. Like, and it just killed me. And I've never forgot it. I'm talking about it now. But it's like the stuff that these people would say to you at school. It obviously affects us. You know what I mean? Being a bit of a sensitive soul, you carry it with you, don't you? You know, wherever you go.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah.
And then I was in the relationship that I was in was really, really, really abusive. And those were, you know, we picked the weaknesses, and it would be the bullying in that relationship would be about my, you know, a lot of it about my physical appearance. Yeah, I thought, like, when I got clean, such a painful time. I just thought I was the most revolting looking person ever.
So when you went into recovery, I always like to ask our guests how they found the transition from using to being clean, because for me it's one of the most difficult experiences of my life. People think it's easy, but it's difficult. How do you find that how did you find recovery, and how did you find the transition initially?
So initially I had, as much as you can, some balance, right? So I'd gone from having nobody in my life except people that I used with, to all of a sudden having this whole fellowship.
Did you get overwhelmed at any point? I find it overwhelming sometimes.
About being clean? Or just how
You go from
different it was?
isolation to
I
loads of
struggled with massive anxiety.
Yeah.
How did you deal with
Well,
your
that was the thing. You know, I put down the drugs, and then I realised that I'd got depression. There was bouts of depression that took me a couple of years to acknowledge it was something that was quite shameful for me. An eating disorder, like I said, the body image issues, the relationship issues, anxiety, like full-on anxiety attacks over, do I wash my hair today or not? You know, or I got a meal plan that said, buy chicken, and I've gone to the supermarket and there's no chicken, and I'm having to phone people, or what do I get? And all the skills that I had. I said to you, I had a career. I owned my own home, right? But all these skills of paying bills on time that I had before cracking heroin, that didn't come back overnight. That took years for me to get. Not being responsible with money, still spending time with like not people who were great for me.
Yeah.
That all took years. It was slow burning, chipping away at it. It didn't just not happen year 3, it happened. It's happening slowly, but it didn't happen overnight. But what was balanced with that was this laughing with my mates, and I've not had that. I've not had company. I've not had anybody who'd wanted to spend time with me.
The good feelings.
The good feelings. I had the good feelings as well, and that's like really important that I did have that balance. What I suffered with most of my 14 years was up until I would say 9 months ago, a year ago, with this therapy that I have, which changed everything for me significantly. With what my therapist gave me was a low mood. A low mood. Couldn't understand why I wasn't feeling like more content and really happy, because I'd got everything that I'd ever wanted. Like I wanted children, I wanted to be a mum, and I'd got that, and I couldn't understand. Like cognitively, I could see I've got this. I've got everything. I've got this amazing life, but I wasn't feeling it on an emotional level, and I still needed a lot of help with some core beliefs about myself. So, it did that transition was hard. Yeah, it was like the brilliant and the best time.
Did you relapse?
I've never relapsed.
Did you go to rehab?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How long were we there for?
So I got kicked out after.
Relapse,
No, I never relapsed. And if you work a program, I think there's you can get sort of through most things.
Yeah.
In the early days, let's face it, you don't have that skill set to deal with like really big emotions, and I understand why people relapse when there's huge trauma or grief in their life.
What about if a girl doesn't text you back for 10 minutes?
No, that's like.
I used to relapse on that.
Yeah, that's completely.
Is that huge emotional trauma?
It is.
I'm just immune to it now.
My recovery is sort of categorised by unrequited love. Yeah, so that's been the most. Like, I know rejection like no other.
I don't know, I think I can rival it.
Give you a run for a minute.
If I had £1 from this, hi Kieran, I think you're a really nice lad, but...
And friend zone.
I reckon I have £100. When I read that first sentence now, I don't bother carrying on, because I know what's going on. I just delete it.
So you have to, like, we're super sensitive, you have to grow a thicker skin for, like, to be in the dating scene.
You are, yes.
Yeah, I'm getting used to it now, yeah. I almost like it.
Yeah, he's a masochist as well.
I like it. I like being told I'm a nice guy, but I never read past it, but what's the point? Just move on.
You mentioned the programmes, your belief is in the programme, isn't it?
That's, you know, we talk a lot about find a higher power, and that's what my 12-step fellowship is, my higher power. I can tap into nature and like the great outdoors or good orderly direction rather than God.
Great outdoors, no.
Yeah, I mean, I can feel something, you know, and on a feeling level when I was really lucky that I lived in South Africa for 7 years, which is one of the most beautiful countries with the most beautiful people that you could ever possibly wish to meet, and there's mountain ranges there, and you can feel it, like there's something other than me, like this is really big and really powerful. No, funny enough, you don't get it big Dudley either.
You have that one
But that has for me no human characteristics. Like that cannot come down and relieve me of my impatience or me being judgmental or, you know, me being like really frustrated.
When I heard about the meetings, I thought that they were all it was called
God's word.
And it put me off going.
Absolutely.
It does with people that think, oh, bunch of Christians and they're going to try and...
So I'm not religious. That's okay to say that. That's my point of view.
Yeah.
Some people believe in God.
Sometimes it's similar to yours, isn't it? With just the programme, like.
Yeah, so
which works brilliantly as this is living.
That's what my spirituality. I'm now doing something I couldn't do on my own because I've applied the program to my life.
Absolutely.
So I believe in that.
Yeah.
So that's spiritual in itself.
Yeah.
I have belief in that.
Yeah.
So Karen, sounds good. I'm
I
not sorry.
think I was just going to say exactly the same what you said, but do you know, like for me, my life was a mess before coming to meetings, do you know, and then my life got better from going to them, so that is something to believe in. I don't need to believe that there's something else, I just need to believe that everyone that does this, it works for them.
Yeah.
But this is common, we know...
That's like a power.
This is what. We know a few people with strong recovery, with years clean, who live a very happy life, and what they do is, it's work program and it works. They say, look, I believe in the program.
Do you still make mistakes?
Oh, all the time.
I make the most reckless decisions you'd ever see.
I don't see them as mistakes. I don't see them as mistakes now. I don't. Having the program as my way of life, you know, having these set of spiritual principles of a guide to how I live. For every life hurdle that I have, there's a step or a tradition that I can use, that I can apply, that's going to get me through it. So I'm pretty responsible. I don't tend to make sort of reckless decisions now. Do I make mistakes? I don't really call them mistakes. It's just a decision that I've made. I'm at a crossroads. I can either go that way or that way. I've got faith in myself. Whatever path I choose, I'm going to get through it clean. I'm going to try my best. And if it doesn't work for me, I'm going to ask for help to get me to another place that I need to be. I don't really buy into this. I don't buy into mistakes. I think because then I can be like paralysed with fear of I'm going to make a mistake if I'm and then I don't make any decisions.
I find that in the meetings, it's like you can't do anything without being jumped on. But then again, I do make the wrong decision, so but it may come up.
I think that's just in society.
Have you learned from them though? I mean,
no.
No, I don't mean like have you learned from them and then next time done something different. I mean, have you then you've done something and it's caused you pain, and then you can look at that with your support network and say, what have I learned about the way that I think?
Yeah.
And why do I think that way? Why do I feel that way? And why do I behave that way?
Aware of his decisions.
Yeah. So if you've learned something, you're empowered, right? It doesn't matter if you then repeat it 10 times. Each time you're learning something and you're empowering yourself.
Yeah, that's a good way of looking at things.
Fear and pain are my biggest teachers. The things that have brought me most pain, especially in recovery, the ones that really took me out of the room, that's happened to me before, or really it's like spiritually ruined me. They have been the best teachers to me.
You know, that will change and it will skip over that. You'll find that you can learn, my experience, that I can learn and change because of the gifts that it brings me, of that desire to want to do better, be better, think healthier, like myself more, show myself more compassion. I have girls that I mentor, and I have a really strong sponsorship family. We're huge, and there's probably about 50 of us now in this family, and I say to them all the time, all you need to do is have a good relationship with yourself, and the basis of that is self-compassion. And if you do that, everything else, all of your shortcomings, all of your defects will just fall into place to be more spiritual behaviours in spite of you. You just have to have a relationship with yourself. And if you're only driven by fear and pain, that doesn't bode well. And it will change because, like, you know, it's early years for me is like 13 years. Things changed at 13 years. You know, they say don't give up 5 minutes before the miracle. My miracle took about like 13 and a half years.
Well, I've got about 12 and a half years left.
And now I feel like I'm much more driven by self-compassion.
I feel like whenever I feel rotten inside, if I feel shit inside, I project it outside to the whole world is just a bad place. You know, if you feel shitty, not that it rarely happens, but when I'm aware, hang on a minute, something's going on. Like when I mentioned earlier, I had back pain, and it made me feel but I was just being shitty. You know what I mean? You project inside outwards, don't you? And I think everyone does. I can't speak for everyone, but
Human nature.
Yeah, human nature.
Yeah, sure.
If you're rotten inside, you like to project a bit of shit.
Ultimately, we're human beings, aren't we?
Yeah.
So we're never going to be
always going to be
perfect.
flawed.
Yeah,
you know, otherwise.
I'm flawed.
Yeah, and I say to the girls that I mentor, you know, I say if you're not asking for help at least twice a week, then there's a huge part of your program that you're not tapping into, because when we're asking for help, I'm reaffirming to myself that I'm not cured of this illness, and B, I'm a human being, like I'm imperfect, you know, and it would be not a good place for me to start to think that I'm like, I've got perfection, you know, I haven't, I'm a human being, and I never will. And asking for help isn't always this big emotional trauma, like for me it would be somebody not texting me back, but it might just be like, I just need somebody to just talk to today about what I saw on TV last night, just something else, you know. And asking for help doesn't have to be these big grand gestures. It can be something that's really small but turns out to be very significant because it gives you that connection with another human being.
And asking for help is sometimes difficult, isn't it?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. Yeah.
So
you have to put your big girl's pants on.
Pride will keep you sick sometimes.
Very much so.
Pride will keep you sick.
So what's Vanessa like today? How's your life today? Are you in a much better? Are you happy place now?
It's like I just can't help but smile. I say this like really, I don't want to seem like contrived when I say this. This is really genuine and really, really comes from a genuine place. I am constantly throughout my day blown away by the life that I've got. I feel like I'm always brimming with gratitude for what I've got. I experience more happiness than not. I have a really good, strong sense of self. I have a profound respect for myself. And I have 2 amazing, wonderful children.
You got 2 young boys, haven't you?
I do.
How old are they?
Day is 6 and Bertie is 2.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like really content and really happy. I really, we band around all the time, like life beyond our wildest dreams, and I go, yeah, but in my head I go, well, I haven't got that. I don't feel like that. I honestly do feel like that, and a lot of that, I have to say, that's because I'm a mum. I think my life would be very different if I hadn't have been blessed with that. And I got pregnant when I was 8 years clean. So that was a long time, like, clean to not.
Can you imagine being a mum and using? Because it's so relevant, isn't it?
I mean, I'm presented with it all the time, with what I hear in the fellowship, and I'm so grateful that I had my children when I feel like a grown up.
Yeah, I had my daughter clean.
Yeah, isn't that amazing?
I'm so glad that happened.
I never. It was horrible.
Yeah. And that's the story I hear.
Yeah.
Because we know if you're on drugs and you have a baby, doesn't mean you're going to stop taking drugs.
No.
It's just not going to happen.
That's how I know that no human being can stop me taking drugs.
Right. That's right. My son, I don't know whether you guys know, but my youngest son has Down syndrome, and he also needed major 7-hour open heart surgery when he was 3.5 months old. So I spent pretty much the first 6 months of his life living in hospital. And especially during he's also been in neonatal intensive care for a significant amount of time as well. when we were in Birmingham Children's for his heart operation, I would see people outside school, you know, birds of a feather flock together, you can spot them, can't you? They're there waiting for their dealer, and the gratitude that I had, that I didn't have to do that, because I'd have still been there, right? I'd have still been at the hospital, that I would have done, but I would have constantly been scouring of whose purse I could nick out of the handbag, because that was what I did. You know, that was one of the things that I did. And I would have been in the toilets I'd have been outside waiting for the dealer, the constant stress of, well, where am I going to get the money from to score? I just wouldn't have been present there for him.
And how's Bertie now?
He's great. I mean, he's just amazing.
He's gone through a lot of adversity there, hasn't he?
He really has. Yeah, he really has.
It's been difficult for you as a mom.
Yeah, because you know, you don't know whether your child's. I didn't know whether he was going to survive, and so that's like next level. But this is why I stress so much about asking for help, because by the time I was very lucky. I had Bertie's diagnosis when I was about 13 weeks pregnant, so I had like loads of time to prepare for it. And because I'd had all those years of practice of asking for help, connection with others, don't isolate, reach out, it was just something that I just did. And my sponsorship family, everything that I share with my family, with the people I have shared DNA with, I share with my sponsorship family as well, and that's a real core support for me. So they have very much walked this journey with me.
So you've got a good network of support there amongst females.
Massive.
We don't really have that with males, do we? I've never heard of that sponsor family for men. Have you?
No.
I'd say I'm probably the one that drives it.
Yeah.
I think I'm the one that I would hope that if anything happened to me, somebody would take over that. But I'm just really, really passionate about people experiencing some contentment in their life, because it's there in every meeting you go to. You get given the tools. It just takes time. It just takes time.
I feel that. Like, I talk to a lot of newcomers, and what I want for them most is to feel the peace I feel.
Exactly.
That I get from the programme, from being.
But you know that's going to take time, isn't it? It's just keeping them there for a long time.
It's like knowing something that they're going to get, but they've got to wait to get it. So they're like, oh, you know, I don't really want to put this much work in it. In other words, but I know in my heart, you're going to love it.
Yeah.
So I sort of press for it a little bit.
Yeah,
I don't carry them, by all means.
No,
I don't baby them. We know what happens when that happens.
Yeah.
But I do press a bit, for them to attend meetings and to get involved, because once they get this piece, they ain't never want to lose it.
That's right. I sponsor 10 girls, you know, and they all like.
I don't imagine some of them sponsor people.
Yeah, like I say, you know.
They all sponsor people. That's how it works.
I think in our WhatsApp group now there must be 45, 50.
Is it going
50
off all
girls.
day? Have you got any messages now?
No, I tell you when I turn my phone back on. But it fills me with joy, and the things that I really like are, so not everybody has. I'm single, right? I'm single. So I'm just put that out there. So not everybody has the luxury of going home to a significant other and chatting about their day, or look what I've cooked, isn't that?
Oh, I bet around my mum's like that.
There you go to your mum. So we provide in our family group. We provide that, so the girls, it's not just about messaging the group when you feel shit, it's about messaging them when you've got something really nice to share. So, you know, Bertie fed himself with a spoon for the first time. I share it with the girls, you know, because I'm really close with Bertie's dad. He's my best friend in the whole world, but he lives in Surrey, you know, so he's not there all the time, and the girls give me that. So there will be a picture of somebody's meal when I turn it back, and that's great, right? Because isn't that what family give each other?
Yeah.
And what I learned in
maybe we could do that with the project. We could have
your WhatsApp group.
A WhatsApp group, and we'll have that.
Because it's not all doom and gloom recovery.
No.
Let's have a laugh, and we all.
That's a good idea, actually.
If
anyone else, that was my idea.
That's your idea. The parenting thing about, you know, saying we've got families that love us, but didn't quite feel like you know you fit in.
Yeah.
So I find one of the biggest gifts that we find in our fellowship is you will find people who parent you. So even if I'm lucky, I come from solid family, you know, they love me that doesn't always happen, and there's people who suffer terrible neglect and abuse and trauma, but you're okay because you will find a family in our fellowship that will parent you, and that's what we do. I parent people who are older than me. You know, I mean, that's what we give each
I
other, isn't
understand
it?
that the sponsor, you know, sometimes the feeling of a father figure a little bit.
Yeah.
In some ways, bit of guidance.
Because your boundaries, you show love and guidance.
And the females with
Yeah.
a bit of mothering. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Not babying, but
No,
a mother
there's a
figure.
different-
You know,
yeah.
like a guidance.
Yeah,
A
it's
guide
a
through the
place of
steps, a guide through
safety.
your life. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Safety.
So I
Definitely.
think we will. Well, I'm going to finish on this in a minute. So I'm at home listening to this.
Yeah.
I'm on drugs. I'm life in disarray. What message would you give them people listening who are struggling around addiction? What would you like to say to them people?
The reason I stopped using, the reason I got clean was because I couldn't believe that a human being was meant to be this unhappy.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it can't be right. It can't be right for a human being to feel so sad and unhappy. There's help out there. That feeling of being disconnected and sad and unhappy, let us help you and we will change that, and you can feel that change. You don't even have to be clean to feel that change. We'll help you get clean, we'll help you stay clean. Just get help. Therapy is really, really important as well. We've got loads of trauma, a lot of us, that needs unpacking by a professional who knows what they're talking about. But those feelings that you've got, they can change really, 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 really quickly. You know, saying about, it's 13 years before I feel this good. I felt good day one. There's slow increments, but I felt better every day, each year. It's got better and better. It will change.
The help is out there, isn't it?
Help is out there.
My first year for me in my recovery, it was like the best year. Do you know what I mean? I weren't doing what I was doing, do you know, anymore.
I was doing it wrong then. I hated it.
But it was new, do you know, like
Yeah.
what the pain that I was in, I just wasn't in anymore. I was felt like I was living again. do you know?
Absolutely.
You know, so
You get your feelings back, don't you?
yeah, that's
Still mad though. I remember picking up a year Kieran up, and I messaged a few people privately and said, "How did you feel when you picked up your first, year Kieran?" And one of the guys went, "Still completely insane." I thought, "Sound just me then."
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I still feel that way now. So if people are out there listening who are struggling, they can get in touch with us. You can find us on Facebook by searching the Dynamo Project. You can find us on Instagram, funnily enough, by searching the Dynamo Project. And we've got a lot more information coming up. So we went to the house last week, didn't we? It's coming on really well, so that'll be open in July. So we'll be able to take referrals soon and hopefully try and make a little difference where we can.
Well done, guys. What you're doing is amazing.
This podcast is on Spotify as well. I listen to it on Spotify.
Spotify, it's on Apple Podcasts, it's on Anchor, it's on YouTube where you can view it, but you can listen to it audio only. And this particular podcast will be released on Friday. What's the date on Friday?
25th.
25th on Friday. So we'll give this to Bernard now and he'll have a week of editing and getting it all jazzy for us, and that'll be released. So, Lisa, thank you so much for
Thank
coming
you for
on.
having me.
I
Thank
I thought it was really, really good.
Yeah.
And, thank you
you.
for being honest and whatnot. So, is there anything guys want to add, or you're right just to...
Now we're good.
yeah,
All right.
all good.
Okay, sound. See you in the next one.
Thank you.
Try to catch me howling at the moon.